Being a good GM requires consistency, endless preparation, and player appreciation. This is Confessions of a Frustrated Game Master. Hello, welcome to Confessions of a Frustrated Game Master. I am Robert, the narrator, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Confessions. Well, this episode of Confessions, I want to give a shout out to a tabletop RPG that has been really important to me for the last 6 years, and that is I am winding down on playing because I feel that I have done everything with the system that I can do. But I definitely love the system, have enjoyed it, and for me, it is the closest to perfect role-playing game that I have ever played. What I like to say to my friends is there's no such thing as a perfect role-playing game, and in my top 10, I can go through each game and point out things that I think that can be improved in the game, and this game is no different. But you can probably see here is the game that I'm referring to, and I'm referring to Monte Cook Games' Cypher System role-playing game. Cypher System started its life in the hobby as Numenera. This game right here, Monte Cook Games' science fantasy role-playing game, which was released in 2013. I did not kickstart Numenera, but I was able to get into the play test, and I play tested the game. And I have been playing it off and on, more on than off, for the last 6 years. And the Cypher System role-playing game is the gaming engine that powered Numenera. And Monte Cook Games continue to be asked by fans, hey, are you ever going to do a generic system that can handle any genre? And Cypher System was the answer to that question. So I played Numenera, and I have been playing the Cypher System, and I'm on my second or third, I'm pretty sure it's second setting that I have used the Cypher System for. First was an Eclipse Phase clone science fiction setting, and I'm currently doing what I call my Vampire Nations. It is a fantasy setting. I lament the fact that I was not able to do a supers setting using the Cypher System before I decided to move on from the Cypher System, but I had a grand idea of having a super setting where the U.S. government is trying to put together a super team. They want the public's approval for this team, so they were going to kind of do it in a reality show type setup where the American people get to vote for who makes the team, and if you don't make the team, you're unable to use your powers. You're not able to be a superhero or a vigilante if you're not government sanctioned. And I wanted a community to vote for who makes the team, and I was going to have, of course, the player characters. The players play 2 characters, and one of their characters would be voted out by whatever community we did the game in front of, and so on and so forth. So it was a really crazy idea, and I love the super setting, and I'm sad that I probably will never get to do that. But as I said, I have played Numenera / the Cypher System for 6 years now. I have fallen in love with this tabletop RPG. And as I said, it is the closest to perfect that I have ever played. And at some point, maybe the Cypher system will be a lot higher on my top 10 favorite RPGs of all time. Maybe it will surpass Earth Dawn as my number one role-playing game. Right now I have Numenera listed, I think six or seven, or maybe even 8 on my list. But maybe someday I'll look back and this will be the best role-playing game that I have ever played. And I remember seeing the Numenera Kickstarter and the Numenera play test, and Numenera just really caught my attention. It was so unique. It's like nothing else out there. It really struck me with its 3 stats: might, speed, and intellect. And these stats were not fixed stats as we have come to grow accustomed to in tabletop RPGs. Might, speed, and intellect were pools of points that not only allowed the player to spend to reduce the difficulty of actions, but they also acted as hit points for the character. So Numenera is a dangerous game that is not for the faint of heart because of the way that those incredibly unique mechanics are set up. You know, some players are notoriously risk averse, and it asks players to be smart and manage their luck and their resources, which a lot of players in my group and a lot of players in our larger community don't like that aspect of Numenera or the Cypher system, because a lot of players are not willing to take that risk. Now, the reason I'm not saying that the Cypher system is a perfect role-playing game is because something that I have found is that characters are so competent, I find it difficult to challenge players at higher levels. Now, I have not, like any other role-playing game, I think a lot of fellow hobbyists experience, I haven't had a ton of time playing the Cypher system at the higher levels. But even at the mid-tier levels of the game, players can be really difficult to challenge, and that is one of the things that makes me a little hesitant to call the Cypher system the perfect role-playing game. But that same struggle is the reason why I scratch my head whenever a player tells me that the setup of spending the stat pool points and having them be hit points makes them feel less powerful. I was actually told that by a player who played Numenera for 18 weeks and wasn't knocked out of a single combat. So it's very unique. A character's stat pools is the most elegant expression of an exhaustion system that I have ever seen. I have lamented, and I have had fellow gamers that I have gamed with for many years lament the fact that in a lot of role-playing games, characters continue to get hurt and to get wounded and to get damaged, and their hit points or life points or health continues to drop, and they feel no effects from those wounds until they are just completely knocked out of a combat. And we've always found that unrealistic. But we were also not fans of death spirals, which meant that once a character has taken a certain number of wounds, before they are completely knocked out of the combat, they might as well be out of the combat because the wound penalties or modifiers make their characters completely ineffectual. So there was never a really great balance for that realism that we've always wanted, in my eyes, until I came across Numenera and the Cypher system. Because the way that the Cypher system handles it, as I said, you can use your stat pools / hit points to lower the difficulties of tasks. However, once you get to the point where either damage or your use of those stat pools have lowered your pools to a point where you no longer want to use it to lower difficulties, your character loses that piece of their effectiveness, but they still have an unmodified D20 roll to depend on. And that D20 roll can still crit at 20 or have a major effect at 19 or have a minor effect when you roll a straight 18. So the character can still be effective even once they get to the point where their hit points have been significantly lowered. I've always found that incredibly elegant. I've always loved that aspect of the game because, like a game designer once said, I don't like death spirals because just when my hero needs to be a hero, he can't. With the Cypher system, you'll find a game that allows your character to be a hero, but still challenge them with a resource management system that speaks to the heart of the game. I find that really appealing. The other thing that I love about the Cypher system is part of the character creation process asks the players to give their character. During the character creation process, a player will have a list of 5 choices based on his class choice, which they call type in Cypher system, and their occupation choice, which they call focus. 5 choices that tells everyone at the table why this character got involved in the first adventure of the campaign and to whom the character has the closest relationship with. I love that. It's not something that's bolted on or that's kind of an aside. It's part of the character creation process, because to me, creating a real character in whatever setting you're playing in is very important. So I will always remember playing the Cypher system. It has really done everything that I have asked it to do. It allows players to play tactically if they want to immerse themselves in tactical considerations for the game. However, it simultaneously allows players who want a rules-light experience where all they have to do is roll a die and figure out the result from turn to turn, if that's all the player wants to do. So I love Cypher system for that fact. Also, the unique fact that the game master never rolls. In the Cypher system, you don't have that eternal wait when you are in a conflict, because players are asked to roll when they attack, and they are asked to roll when they are being attacked by an NPC. So it's never a situation where you as a player take your turn and then you're waiting for the other players and NPCs to finish their turns. You may have to jump into the action again, even on an NPC turn, and I love that. It keeps all of the players engaged and immersed in the action. So I'm really going to miss the Cypher system. It is an extraordinarily unique experience in the hobby, and I would recommend it for anyone who likes a rules light or rules medium gaming experience with a bit of some of the narrative indie mechanics that our hobby has embraced. The GM intrusion, the GM's ability to give players experience points at the cost of allowing the game master to complicate the player characters' lives. I really love that aspect of the game. So I highly recommend the Cypher system, and I want to thank Monte Cook Games for bringing such a unique game to the market. And again, I'm really going to miss this game, but after my Vampire Nations campaign has ended, I regrettably will put it aside because I have gotten to the point where I feel that I have experienced everything that the Cypher system has to offer. It is an incredible system. I've enjoyed every moment of bringing it to my table, even though some of my players did not enjoy it. And I loved it because of its uniqueness, its simplicity, how GM friendly the game is, and how much it asks players to reach a little bit deeper than just cookie cutter characters. Here's to you, Cypher System, Monte Cook Games. I'm going to miss it. Thank you very much.